10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Well, good morning to you. How are you all doing? It's Tuesday, not Monday. I had to quickly check the calendar there. It's been a few days off. Decent weekend, everybody. You can let me know how yours went. Mine was pretty heavy. I've got to stop having these heavy weekends. It always makes me hungover on Monday. But anyway, how are you all doing? There is no football for ages. There wasn't any football at the weekend. Well, not United anyway. There won't be any Man United until the 2nd of October. Now, you'll see the videos that I did at the weekend. Well, a couple of videos on transfers, on the strategy behind the transfers, and also then like a sort of nod towards the January transfer window and the summer. So to do those two videos and then to come to this story this morning where we're going to be talking about the Glazers, Erik Ten Hag, and how the Glazers may well be blocking Erik Ten Hag in the January transfer window. It's not exactly what we want to hear, is it? But I'm going to run through that article from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic. And today I'll also run through a cracking interview with Adam Crafton on The Athletic with Bruno Fernandes. Sort of a little bit of insight into Erik Ten Hag, a little bit of insight into Solskjaer, into Rangnick. I might cover this interview in a full reaction video later on today, but I've cherry-picked a few quotes there that we'll run through this morning. But good morning to everyone down here. Let's have a look. Got Matty Jones. Good morning to you. We've got Moharizal. I'm going to call you Sicario. How you doing, buddy? Craig Keith. We've got Paula Sashi all the way from Japan, as always. Catches my eye. Anthony Charles. We've got Josh down there. Charlie, Michael, Mr. Anderson. And T, just seen you down there. And Carl watching from New Zealand. Good morning to all of you. Did you have a decent weekend? Mine was good. Sometimes it's got a little bit too heavy sometimes. That's what happens when there's no football and you don't really have to work. You can have a little bit of a break. And yesterday I decided not to publish videos. It was a bank holiday here in the UK for the Queen's funeral. I personally felt that, it's been a bit full on what's happened since the Queen died, but it felt right not to do any videos on the day of her funeral. So that's what I did. And that's kind of the only thing I want to talk about that, because some weird shit was said on Twitter yesterday. But that's what Twitter is. It's a wonderful place for weird shit. But look, Sean also watching from New Zealand. Big up to everyone from watching from New Zealand. I want to visit that side of the world. Furthest I've been is Thailand. Twice. Actually, no, Cambodia is a little bit further away. But look, that side. Charlie is saying, look, where was the podcast this morning? Same reason that there was no videos yesterday. I didn't do anything yesterday. So it's 1 week off for the podcast. I apologize. I actually should have done a little bit of an announcement post on that. So I apologize for everyone who was looking forward to the podcast. But we're back here this morning. We're going to be back in the swing of things. I've got lots and lots of videos lined up. Genuinely decent videos, I think. Because here on United People's TV, I love covering the day-to-day of things, but I also enjoy taking a bit of a step back, trying to have a little bit of an analytical look and maybe the bigger picture. And I think that's something that Manchester United as a football club haven't done for a long time. We've always had a head down. We haven't had our head up, seeing what's coming ahead. And that's why sort of the two videos I did in this weekend, I took Ten Hag's comments after the Sheriff game, where he was talking about, okay, so, we're going to take this 2-week period here, the international break, as an opportunity to talk about structures, to talk about what's needed inside and outside the club, and also to talk about transfers. So I did two videos. Number one, taking a look at what I think the conversations will be with Erik Ten Hag and the board inside Manchester United in terms of what structures do I still need in place? And we focused heavily on the transfer specialist. Someone like Paul Mitchell, someone like Luis Campos, somebody who can come in and do the job that I don't particularly think John Murtough was able to do this summer. Well, I think we made the right signings. I think we overspent. And that's definitely the case. So I'm going to bring up some more facts and data up on that in a little bit. But that was the first video. And then yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before, Saturday. I ran through what I personally felt was going to be phase 2 of Erik Ten Hag's rebuild. And I focused on 3 positions. I focused on a new striker, which I think is the ultimate priority, the absolute priority for United now. Another central midfielder in Christian Eriksen's position. Christian Eriksen was not signed as somebody to play 90 minutes every single week. It's just, he wasn't. Even though he's playing incredible there, and he is, we need another player of his ilk so that if he goes out of the team, that somebody who maybe comes in Whether it's De Jong or not, it's going to be a player of that ilk, and also another right back, in my opinion. Anthony is saying, look, if it's all up to Erik, he'll replace them all. I don't know whether he's going to be able to replace them all, and that's where we run through and on to today's talking point. And this is coming from, and I wouldn't say this is an article from Laurie Whitwell. This is sort of part of the mailbag. So it's kind of, he obviously doesn't feel, well, maybe not obviously, but it feels like he's not totally confident is what of course he's confident in what he's writing, but not enough so to write a separate article completely. Hip Hop Juice, Sam, why use the Glazers mug as a thumbnail? No Glazers, well, I am talking about the Glazers. So, you know, that's why I've got to put their dirty. He honestly does have like the worst hair. I'm not hairist, but come on. That looks like a wet rat's tail. It's horrendous. Atticus watching from Ohio. Oh, good morning to you as well. It really is good morning for all of you. But geez, the Glazers. The amount of times that we've talked about them on this channel over the years and years and years. I'm actually planning on doing an update video. You might remember back in 2020, I did a video. I called it the Exposing the Glazers Strategy. And in that video, I detailed how, and I used all the evidence across the windows saying, look, when we're inside the top four, we finish inside the top four, Manchester United spend less in the subsequent transfer window. And when we finish outside the top four, we spend more. And it was a pattern that repeated itself. Now, this summer, we've just gone full tilt crazy. We went from trying to sign on Arnautovic for 7 million and trying to agree a deal with Adrian Rabiot for 15 million, only for the fans, all of us, to have such a bad backlash when it comes to Arnautovic that the club pulled out of a deal for him. And the only reason we didn't sign Adrian Rabiot is because his mother was tough to deal with. I mean, honestly, who could have seen either of those things coming? I've no idea. You have to be no, you don't have to look massively into the future. You just have to do a little bit of research, because the red flags with both of those were so obvious, so straight away. Both with Arnautovic because of his past, and also with Rabiot because of who his agent was. So it was, yeah, honestly, the reason we signed Casemiro was not Manchester United. The reason we signed Casemiro was because of Veronique Rabiot. Big up to Veronique Rabiot. Tyler, let me know where you're watching from, buddy. Nice to see you joining becoming a member. And Sasha, what are you saying? Dude has all kinds of money and can't afford a proper barber visit to shave that scruff. I don't know. Maybe he's like emotionally attached to the scruff. Maybe I don't know, because there's some sort of absurd reason why he is keeping that. You're spending more energy on the Glazers than encouraging the team. That's an absolutely wide of the mark comment there, my friend Justy. Absolutely wide of the mark. I do as much as I possibly can to cover the positives, all the positive aspects and the progress that you see from Ten Hag and the football and X, Y, Z. But I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. I'm not going to try and pretend that the Glazers are not the ultimate problem at Manchester United, and I will continue to say that until they are not at Manchester United. Simple as that. This has been the case since 2005, and it will be the case until they leave the club. So let's go through this article here this morning from Laurie Whitwell on The Athletic. I appreciate that the next couple of weeks are probably going to be quite quiet here on United People's TV. Not as many people tuning in, but you're all here. So make sure you drop a like on the video, and I'll be here every single day. So maybe you can get more of your questions answered, because there'll be less comments flying in. So make sure you stick around. But let's run through this article. He said this. Maybe this is what Ten Hag said before, after the Sheriff game, and this is that and that. Those comments there led to these two videos, which I sort of did a little bit of a deeper dive into both of those. He said, look, we have many meetings. We have to improve the structures in and around the club. And we will also look to the window in January or next summer already. This is what Laurie said. Ten Hag mentioning the winter window is telling. He's understandably keen to get to the next stage of his rebuild as soon as possible after seeing early signs of encouragement for the signings he led on. There may need to be some reconciliation between Ten Hag's aspirations and budget realities, however. United had a net spend of more than 200 million this summer, almost double the original projections when Ten Hag took charge. And therefore, funds are expected to be very tight when the winter market opens. Joel Glazer, Chief Executive Richard Arnold, and John Murtough are focused firmly on summer 2023 as the next opportunity to significantly add to Ten Hag's squad. So I want you to not talk about Jim Ratcliffe just yet. Spoiler alert. To let me know what you think about that. Because, I mean, we know full well that the January transfer market, it's a tough market to get what you want in, right? I explain this in a little bit more detail in this video here. I say, look, in an ideal world, Manchester United as a football club would be as well run as Liverpool were last January, sorry, because what they were able to do was to accelerate their move for Luis Diaz, a player that they were going to sign in the summer, but they needed him during like a sort of a season where they were in a title charge. So they did that, and they went and signed him in January. And it was a great investment. It wasn't a panic investment. It wasn't an overinvestment. It was just an investment that happened 6 months ahead of schedule. United can hardly do anything right now. United are not capable of looking 6 months in advance, which is why I don't know what's going to... What are your predictions? Honestly, what's your gut feeling about what's going to happen in the January transfer window? Let's try and ignore what Laurie Whitwell has written here. What's your gut feeling saying about, do you think we're going to sign a striker in the January transfer window? Do you think we're going to sign another right back? Do you think we're going to sign anybody in the January transfer window? You can let me know what you think in the comments below. But I think I'm going to have to take a quick pause here and say, mate, I feel like I'm saying this every single stream, Gunkshi. You are an absolute legend of the community. Really, really are. I need to get, I don't know whether you're on the Telegram community, Gungshi, but we need to get you down there as a mod, get you involved, get you deeper into the channel. Gungshi down there giving 10 memberships out, gifting 10. I gifted 5 to those who joined in early. So if you are here on the channel and you want to try and bag one of these, sometimes I give them out early to the people who turn up 25 minutes, half an hour before the stream. So if you're one of those 5, congratulations to you. Steve Hawk, I know you got one. And something I would say as well, actually, Josh, you reminded me to say this. All these gifted memberships, they last for a month. It's your way of getting a foot in the door and saying, cool, okay, right, let's see what this community is about, and joining the Telegram community, joining the members chat. But it does only last for 1 month. So I'd love you to renew, and I hope that over the next month you enjoy yourself. But look, thank you very much to Gungshi, but make sure you remember it's only for 1 month. And that's something that I forgot about. Mark is saying, look, Sam Gungshi needs a shirt. Mark, Gungshi was sent a shirt, I think 6 weeks ago, something like that. A long time ago. Bob, you're thinking, look, a striker in the summer. Tavish, you're saying that at most I'm going to go for one transfer at 20 to 45 million. Craig, you're saying, nope, don't see anything happening in January. Desmond, you're saying a right back, central midfielder and a striker. I mean, that's, I suppose, an ideal situation, but there's no chance that's going to happen. And hope your dad's all right, mate. I saw that. Depends if there are must-have players available in January that we might miss out on. That's exactly that. I think that's why the Luis Diaz situation is the best comparison to do. Because what Erik Ten Hag, well, I say that. What Erik Ten Hag wanted to do this summer was only sign the right players. And then we tried to go after Arnautovic and Rabiot. And it all felt like, oh, geez. I remember that. Man, I don't miss the summer transfer window. I tell you that. I really do not miss that. Because it was exhausting. It was really exhausting. And that's just I suppose that's what happens when you're Manchester United, right? When you're United, you're the biggest ticket in town. You're the biggest story in town. And any twists and turns and U-turns and agents saying one thing and clubs doing another thing. It was constant stories, constant U-turns and constant craziness. And I always maintained, come the end of this summer transfer window, I think we're going to be happy. And I think I was justified in that. I had belief in the overall ability for United to get our deals done. But as I'll show you now by putting up some stats, we don't do things properly. And this is something that is absolutely hurting the progress of our football club. Now, I might do this as a video that goes out at lunchtime today. I might cover the Bruno Fernandes interview. I haven't quite decided yet. But this here is absolutely telling, because I think we should be happy with what Manchester United did in the summer transfer window, right? We signed Casemiro, Martinez, Malacia. We signed some cracking players. Christian Eriksen on a free. I mean, what a signing that was. Really was. Probably the best free signing we've ever made. I mean, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is probably considered the best free signing that we made, but I think Christian Eriksen is going to blow him out of the water here. Malps, you're saying, look, will Phil Jones survive January? I don't know, but Phil Jones has survived everything so far. It staggers me. Tim Arnold, let me know where you're watching from, dude. Nice to have you on board. And you're saying, look, for the right players, we may decide to have to use some of our summer pot in January. This is the thing for me, which is if we go back to these quotes, right, before I introduce this, if we go back to these quotes from Erik Ten Hag. We have many meetings. We have to improve the structures in and around the club. Now, you know what a massive part of that structure is when it comes to transfers? Is how much is spent on players. And this, for me, is a fundamental structural problem that exists at Manchester United. Because the spending under the Glazers since Fergie retired hasn't been the issue. I mean, the issue has been it's not been their money, but we've spent money. Wow, we spent money. But we've wasted so much money. It's unreal. And if you look at this is a CIES, I think, it's Football Observatory doing statistical data analysis on who has bought what. So look, they've taken a look at 33 transfers, looked at the value of that player and how much that player was worth. And comparatively, Manchester United have overspent more than any club inside Europe's top 5 leagues in terms of how much they pay for that player and how much that player was worth. And for me, this table, that right there, well, there you go. Ten Hag just needs to bring that in and slap that on the table. We need more Tyrell Malacias than we need Antony's, right? A player like Antony, a transfer like Antony is sort of a cherry on top of the cake. It's that final piece it's a bit like when Liverpool signed Van Dijk and they signed Alisson. At that point in time, their team was ready and they just needed those big signings to go boom, completed team. You can't sustainably build a team around 80 to 90 million pound signings. It's not possible. It really is not possible. So this is what United have to do. There will be someone, right? I can guarantee you this. There will be someone available in that January transfer window. There will be gems available. There will be players available in the region of 15 to 30 million pounds that will have the sort of impact that Tyrell Malacia has had on this Manchester United team at left back this season. Guaranteed. 100% unequivocally guaranteed that those players are available in January. But having the scouts to identify them and the structures in place to get in there early doors, that doesn't quite exist yet. And that is why, Matt, I'm happy with the signings that we made, but the overall structures of that, how long it took, how much we paid, everything in between, it's madness. Look, Jean-Pierre, you're down there. It's a decent enough comment. Talking about Julian Alvarez, who, of course, moved to City. There will be so many players like this, man. So many players. And this is what Man United have to get smarter at. It is unequivocal. I've said unequivocally twice in like the space of 2 minutes. I'm not sure I've even said that word before here on it. It's these sorts of signings which are going to transform the stability and the future of our club. Because we can't go out there and spend 50, 60 million on a centre-back, 75, 80 million on a central midfielder, and 85 million on a winger every single summer. It's not possible. It feels like we've hit the dartboard finally. We're starting to hit with transfers. That's a big difference about what's happened this season already so far compared to previous seasons. Our signings have all settled in. Look, Martinez straight in that starting 11. Malacia straight in that starting 11. Antony straight in. Casemiro, it seems like he's a bit dusty, but I have every faith that by the end of the season, he's going to be an absolute stalwart in midfield and sort of defensive midfielder that we've all loved and needed for a long time. And Christian Eriksen was just a genius. It's good to see us starting to hit. And that goes to show that Erik Ten Hag Of course, he knows who to buy for his system, but his vision can only go so deep. Eredivisie, former Ajax players, Dutch players I know who will be sort of in tune with my style already. That's all we can go for now. Without any research, I can tell you that these players will fit my system. United now need to do the research. United need to avoid this shit. United need to avoid being that club where people go and, being that club where people, as soon as they hear United knocking, they're like, well, okay, just add 10 million on. Nah, just wait a little bit. They'll pay. They'll overpay. We know they will. Needs to do more. Remember the Malacia deal? Final agreed a fee with Leon. We came in, said, nah, over the top with an extra couple of million, and Malacia's head was turned. He's like, what? Not going Leon anymore. Martin, he's saying, look, do a video lunch and one at 6 p.m. England time as I'm in Australia. Right, okay. Looks like I'm doing 3 videos today because Martin's asked me. I'm chuffed. Look, I am as well. Look, Anthony, cracking name. I'm chuffed as well because it goes to show that this man deserves to be trusted, right? But we cannot and we will not do what we did this summer again. It won't be a case that Ten Hag is just allowed to go whoever he wants and sign whoever he wants for a ridiculous amount of money. We have to be able to identify players more. And that comes down to modern. Mate, there's so much at Manchester United that needs not just a lick of paint. It needs like ripped out of the root and started again. And our scouting department is one of them. It's why our chief scouts, was it Jim Lauder and Marcel Bout, were both sacked in the build-up to Ten Hag coming in. And rightly so. Things have got to change structurally. And that, for me, that table there is the biggest evidence you've got. That's been, honestly, if we hadn't had Ed Woodward, in charge of the Glazers, well, not the Glazers' money, in charge of Manchester United's money over the last 10 years, fuck me, we would not be in this position, right? We would not have fallen so far because we've spent an absolute bucket load of money, like 1.2 billion, I think we've spent, right? Now, had we spent that properly, correctly, invested properly, not just overspent on Di Maria, on Pogba, on all these signings, these big signings that just haven't worked out. And we did a lot more smart signings, like your Tyrell Malacias, right? That's what we have to do. That's a big shift in how our club has to be operated over the next few years. And so to hear, going back to the original comments and the original talking point here, to hear that the Glazers have basically said, look, right, Erik, basically saying, look, you spent an absolute ton of money in the summer. We're not going to back you in January. We're going to back you in the summer. I'm not surprised, first of all. Second of all, the January transfer window rarely throws up absolute worldy signings. You've got Bruno Fernandes you can add to that. And I ran through these in my video that I did on Saturday. Look, you can talk about Bruno Fernandes in January. You can talk about Juan Mata. You can talk about, well, that was only because we were desperate and we were shitting our pants on the David Moyes. We're like, Mata. Reactionary signing, not proactive. Problem that we've had for quite a long time. Then you've got like Vidic and Evra, and they're the sorts of signings that we need more of. Somebody who we've correctly scouted, has the mentality and the talent combined to do it at Manchester United. Because what Ten Hag is building is something that is not easy to play in, right? At all. It's a tough system, and there will be players that fall by the wayside. So we've got to make sure we sign correctly. But we have to be better at identifying players like Vidic, players like Evra. Because if you do have the right scouting department, you can cherry pick. Jonathan, you're saying, look, our scouting in South America is non-existent. Tyler, you're saying, look, Sam, who makes this call on scouts? Is it the manager or the Glazers? I imagine, look, right, if you're Erik Ten Hag, look, I went up there just because I want that to be number one on the list. I don't particularly think that Erik Ten Hag is going to walk into the meeting and say, you know what? Nah, man, get the Glazers out. He won't be doing that. He won't be trying to headbutt his owners whilst also getting money from them. He'll do what every manager at United has done. And he'll stay in a little bit in the shadows and probably not get too involved in the Glazers. Don't use that as a stick to beat Erik Ten Hag with. Let him focus on what he's doing. He can't be the revolutionary. He can't be William Wallace from within. And what? He's just going to get hung, drawn, and quartered and be like, oh, well, thanks, Erik. Now what else are we going to do? Let him do what he needs to do when it comes to the football and what he can do behind the scenes to help that. But it should be on John Murtough. It should be on the people that this is what I mean about supporting a manager. Supporting a manager isn't just giving him the money and saying, who do you want to sign? It's about giving him the right structure behind him, the safety net. And I put it down there, look, transfer specialists and a scouting department. They're your two big things that are missing here for Manchester United. We don't have that Luis Campos or that Paul Mitchell that we can rely on in a transfer market to do things efficiently, to make things run smoothly, to deal with the nuances of the transfer market. It's a language unto itself, which John Murtough doesn't speak. Clearly doesn't speak. And the only reason Manchester United are able to still speak in this market is because we put up more money. And that's just not sure. That's not what it should be. And the scouting department is a huge part of that. Now, I don't. Going back to Tyler's question, I don't actually know who. I can't imagine the Glazers will have too much direct involvement in building a scouting department, right? I don't know why they would, apart from the fact that they've got to sign off on extra wage bill XYZ. They'll sign it off from a numbers perspective, but they won't sign it off on a personnel perspective. That'll be down to Erik Ten Hag, John Murtough, and the footballing side of the club making footballing decisions. Andy O'Boyle, I imagine, will be involved in this. Jonathan, I'd be so surprised if Ralph didn't just go in there and say, I mean, what scouting department do you have? Erling Haaland, perfect example. I think it was Daniel Taylor. I think it was for The Athletic, actually, last week, saying that Mulder's youth team coach got in touch with Manchester United back when Erling Haaland was playing there and said, look, you've absolutely got to sign this kid. This kid's unreal. Like, this is a joke. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. This kid's unbelievable. You need him. Erling Haaland, we should have. I mean, come on, we should have got him. But there are so many like that. Erling Haaland is going to be the one that stings the most because I think we're just going to sit here and watch this kid break. I mean, he's going to set a new benchmark, and we've got to watch him do it in City's colours. And that's what's making it all so bad about Manchester United and the structures behind the scenes is when you're watching our biggest rivals. Luckily, Liverpool are refining themselves this year, which is nice. But City just look, they are, I don't know how it feels like City are unstoppable. That's the way it looks. Warren down there, speaking of unstoppable, there are two proper OGs in this town, like two godfathers, Gungshi and Warren. Warren there, dropping in another 10 gifted memberships. Don't know whether it's Samwise. Anybody? Warren G. Look at that. I like that. 10 out of 10 for the musical reference. Chris, you're saying, look, thank you, Warren. Samwise, you're going down there. Nice name, Samwise. You're saying, look, absolute G's. Thank you very much. And you're saying, look, he is, man. And do you remember people trying to write him off when he came in? It's like, guys, whatever you need to tell yourself to make yourself feel better, cool. But let's not ignore anything. He looks like if you had the privilege, I didn't watch it with his keen an eye, but if you had the privilege of watching Ronaldo back when he was, I think, 17, was he 17 at Barcelona before he got his injuries? No, he might have been about 19. The year before Ronaldo got his first major knee injury. Just go and watch that season, and you'll be like, what the he was on a, I mean, I know that he had I know that he was incredible post that, but before that, and that's kind of what Haaland reminds me of now. Just that pre-injury Ronaldo, that person who just looks like he's just playing on a different planet. And we've got to watch that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Look, when it comes to the Glazers, right, and again, I've got to focus on the Glazers. I really do have to focus on the Glazers. Yeah, and I do mean R9. I'm OG Ronaldo, right? You're seeing some weird stories coming out from CNN Was this 5 days ago? Manchester United winning on Wall Street despite struggling on the field. And I wonder if that's really what they think over there, because that's such a really strangely informed article. Because all you got to do is take a look at that. This is Manchester United on the New York Stock Exchange, back from 2012 to where we are now. Now you can see that in 2012 we launched at a value of what, 12.5, and now the value of per share on the stock exchange is what, 14.2. That is not that's not good investment in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't even match inflation. Money was worth less money was worth more in 2012 now compared to what it is because of the rise of everything. So to try and say that Manchester United are winning off the field, it's a weird one. It's a really weird one. I'm surprised to see that there are people saying that, people who are supposedly informed on that situation. It's very, very odd. Let me go down here and see who's in the comments. Danny's saying, look, just had three weeks in Turkey. My word. That's a holiday. But look, welcome back. Nice to see you there, buddy. Salmon, you look. I know we've got the right manager, man. It feels really good. I'll tell you I'll tell you something that we saw from Erik. This is on Friday evening, I think it was. This was Erik and Van der Gag, both in attendance watching Manchester United's under-21s in action. I think I will probably do a video this week. I feel like it will go down well. I think you'll all enjoy it. A video looking into what youngsters, so if we were to name 8 youngsters, what youngsters will Erik Ten Hag be looking at and thinking, you know what? I think they've got an opportunity this year in the squad. Obviously, we can talk about Charlie McNeil, Zidane Iqbal, Charlie Savage. There's a few others, but it's cracking to see both of those there. And our under-21s manager, he was speaking about it, Mark Dempsey. He said, look, it shows he cares. It's motivating for the boys and the fans. I think it's really encouraging for all concerned that he is here with his staff. And I completely agree with that. Erik Ten Hag is a man who, up until coming to Manchester United, has used the academy as a core and fundamental aspect of his successes at his clubs. Because he's never worked with a club that's got a budget like Manchester United. He's never worked with a club that can buy the sort of players that Manchester United can buy. So the only way that Erik Ten Hag's been able to do that is build from within. And that's an exciting aspect. I think, I'll be completely honest, I think the likes of Van Gaal, Mourinho, and Solskjaer, there are obviously exceptions to the rule. I think Rashford being one of them. But a lot of youngsters who have broken through under those 3 managers have sort of broken through and then broken out of the team. And there haven't been that many who have established themselves. Now, I think Ten Hag is going to be the right manager because the gap from the under-21s and the under-18s to the Premier League is insane. It's stupidly high. It's so difficult. But I trust Erik Ten Hag in cherry-picking the best ones. And look, he did it already in the preseason tour with Iqbal and Savage. And you were like, okay, well, they're more developed than I thought they were. And I think he'll do that across the course of the season. And I'm looking forward to it. Paulie, you're saying, look, Erik Ten Hag's not disappointed me, and I'm loving how he works. Look, man, look, man, I'm really, really enjoying everything that I'm seeing from Erik Ten Hag. From the first couple of games and the reaction to those couple of games, to dropping his team again after the crapness against Real Sociedad and getting the response and the result and the clean sheet. There's a lot to love about what we're seeing with Erik Ten Hag so far. But Garnacho will have his time. Absolutely. I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be a cracker. And Steve, if you're looking at one player who I think is really going to be head and shoulders above players at that age level, I reckon it's Kobbie that's really going to stand out to Erik Ten Hag. I really, really do think so. I remember watching Paul Pogba when he was back in that FA Youth Cup team. And physically, he just stood out. I mean, physically, he was an absolute dominance. But just in how he controlled the ball and how he controlled the game, he stood out among his peers. Like he was years ahead of him. And I think Kobbie is another one of those players. Look, I think so anyway. Now, let me quickly run through this. I think this is a fascinating interview. This is an interview that's come this morning, being released this morning, from The Athletic and Adam Crafton with Bruno Fernandes. And I want to what I've done is I've cherry-picked just a couple of quotes and a couple of talking points. I might cover this in a video later today. As I said, I haven't decided what my video going out at lunchtime will be. But we're back in the swing of things. As I always say every single day, and I try to encourage this, if you've got any ideas, fire them into me. Twitter DMs are open. Instagram DMs are open. I do listen to them. Even if I don't respond to you, I promise you that I do read them. It's just that I do get so many messages that it's hard to respond directly to every single one of you. But all the messages you send, I do promise I read them. Annie's saying, look, why do we as a country struggle to produce world-class strikers other than Kane and Rooney is the last I can think of? I can't tell you the answer to that. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I don't think there's a particular reason or rule for it. It's just that when players come through, I suppose, yeah, it's to do with the coaching, X, Y, Z. But it's a very big question. I have no idea how to answer that one. I'll be completely honest. Let's run through here a couple of questions on Bruno, right? A couple of questions, just sort of a couple of comments from Bruno. He was saying this. One of the referees said to me, Bruno, all the time you're winning. You're such a good guy. When you're losing or drawing, my God, you're a pain in the ass. And I want to be like that. I love Bruno, man. I know Bruno is... I don't think there will be a player inside this squad that will frustrate you more than Bruno. Now, he's a player who can have a moment of brilliance and just a moment of madness within the space of like 10 seconds. And you're like, what are you doing? And he does play on the edge. And he does have that temperament. Now, I've told you that this season has to be where he develops that. And instead of it sometimes being a hindrance to his game, he has to always make sure that that sort of attitude, that mental approach is always a strength to his game that someone can't expose. Because if I'm playing against Bruno, I'm going to try and wind him up and try and get him to react because I know he can, because I know he's got it in him. So he has to make sure that other players can't expose that. But I remember, what is it, when we just beat Liverpool there, Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago, and did you see that like, there was videos of the Liverpool fans like fuming, spitting at the mouth when Bruno was wasting a little bit of time. He knows the shithousery of the game. He absolutely does. And it's a big part of the game. And I wouldn't want him to get rid of that. Sam, you're saying, look, it's in the Portuguese blood. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's in the Portuguese cream tarts. Big up the Portuguese cream tarts. Look, and he was speaking about, I'm going to pull one quote out here up on Ten Hag, on Solskjaer, and on Rangnick, because I think it's quite an interesting discussion point here. So, look, first of all, Ten Hag has an idea, has a style. You have to follow these rules, and he's strict on that, and I like that. He has brought discipline, which is something I think we missed in the past. Everyone must be on the same page. And it is something that we've missed in the past. It's why we've had to resort to cliches so often about the basics and the standards that you should expect of not only a Premier League team, but a Manchester United team. And we haven't seen those standards in so long. So long. So to hear him, I suppose, speak so openly that he's saying, look, we haven't had discipline, is basically him saying, look, yeah, we weren't disciplined under Solskjaer. Solskjaer wasn't a disciplinarian in any way, shape, or form. He was a motivator. He made the players enjoy their football again after Mourinho, the release of that. But once that crescendoed and he needed to get to a point where he had to take that team somewhere else, couldn't quite do that. Shady. I remember that video. Bruno rattles everybody, man. Bruno rattles everyone. And I love that. And it's a big reason why I'll support him, because he gets under the skin of everybody. And that means he's doing his job properly. Samwise is saying, look, he speaks like a true captain. Harry Maguire, and if we're talking about the successes of Erik Ten Hag, the fact that he's dropped Maguire to the bench and got this sort of response from his squad is such a show of power. Not in an overly aggressive way, not in a condescending way where he's come out in the press and said, look, Maguire's a piece of shit. He can sit on the bench. He didn't do that. He's obviously spoken to him behind the scenes. He said, look, I'm going to be playing Martinez and Varane ahead of you. And look at the response he's got from Martinez and Varane. I named Bruno as the person I would like to see that from the squad we had last year. All the conversations we had about the next captain past Maguire, I said there were three candidates. I said there was Bruno, there was Ronaldo, and there was De Gea. And I said, I don't really want it to be De Gea because I don't think a goalkeeper is where the captaincy should lie. And I don't know whether it's just I'm a traditionalist or something like that. There aren't that many captains in history. I know there are. But for me, the captain is someone who should be in the middle of the pitch. Be in a position where he can shout and the strikers can hear him. Be in a position where he can shout and the goalkeeper can hear him. He can influence more of the pitch from the middle than he can in the goalkeeping position, which is what a captain's supposed to do. So I said Bruno. And I think we've seen a slightly different Bruno. We're starting to see a switch in Bruno, where he's starting to control himself a little bit more and using, I suppose, that chaos in the right directions, which is what he needs to do. And I'm not sure if you watched The Witcher. Great series. And they control the chaos. If you can't control the chaos, it'll consume you. I think Bruno got a little bit consumed by his own chaos at times over the last couple of years. But it looks like he's starting to channel that and be able to understand that. And I think Ten Hag is a coach who's probably going to be who's a significant factor as to why that's happened. Now, he actually spoke about different managers as well. Spoke about Solskjaer, and he said this. He goes, look, he still sends me some messages and says congratulations for certain things. He's someone who I want to remain in touch with. I said that to him before he left the club. And I'm not surprised, man. I think every single player that played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would happily go out to dinner with him. And when he left the club and he had tears in his eyes and we've had some real low points post Fergie, but that downfall of Solskjaer and having to comment on it and watching it and having to come out and saying, look, I want Solskjaer to be sacked. That hurt. That cut me. That really, you know full well that I was one of the last, if not the last, to come out and say, look, Solskjaer's got to go. And I think it was the Liverpool game at Old Trafford that did it to me. But Solskjaer was the manager who brought Bruno in. Oh, man, just looking at that just reminds me of it. Fuck. Solskjaer legitimately was my favourite player. If I was 10 when it was the treble winning season, and just Solskjaer because I was never that good a footballer, I was a sub who had to come on and sort of make a difference. So my role model was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he just gave everything. Jeez, I'd love to have a drink with Ole. That'd be awesome. But Bruno Fernandes here, yeah, it's a nice touch. I like that one. And he also spoke about Radnick, and I thought this was an interesting one to finish on. And he said, look, it's nothing to do with Ralph. He tried his best. His best. He's a good manager with good ideas, but it did not fit with everyone. This is because the team had been built with Ole and his idea, and then a new manager comes in with his own idea. I think Ralph got absolutely hung out to dry by that squad. Of all the managers, you know, when Roy Keane famously said, oh, yeah, the players threw the previous manager under the bus, they're going to do the same thing with Solskjaer. I think the players had already thrown Radnick. They basically welcomed him in the door and they pushed him under the bus immediately. Look, Klein is saying, look, I absolutely will. I'm still keeping in touch with Guido. Ralph's obviously busy with the Austrian national team. Maybe we'll see what happens after that. And Ralph would have signed an NDA as well. Manchester United do make our manager. That's why Louis van Gaal didn't speak about United for about a year and a half, 2 years, until he then started speaking about United. I imagine the same thing will go down with Ralph Radnick. It's what businesses typically do when they get rid of employees that they don't particularly have the best relationship with. They want to protect themselves. And that's why Van Gaal had to sign the NDA. Probably the only way he got his sacking money was by signing that NDA. And yeah, Ralph got thrown under the bus. Ralph was that man. We go back to this. Ralph was that man. That man who could just do what I don't think John Murtow is capable of doing. But he got thrown under the bus by the club. He got thrown under the bus by the players. And he was the fall guy, man. He just came in and took the punches, and walked out. And I'll be honest, that the football was abysmal. The club couldn't really get any lower. I think that was probably the lowest point. I think it was our worst season in the Premier League ever, I think. But just how Ragnick was made to look like an utter incompetent fool was, I think, not a fair assessment of his ability and also the influence he could have had on our club. But look, man, Erik Ten Hag followed him. And the direction that we've been in since Ralph sort of took those bullets, I think he's played part of that. So I like that little comment there. But I'll tell you what, last couple of minutes of the show today, as always. So let me see if I can do this quickly. I did this last time, and I said I wanted to try and do this every day. So I will try and do this every day. Just sometimes I forget. Let me go here. I'm going to switch the chat on YouTube to members only for the last few minutes of the show. So if you remember, if you're on Facebook, you can still fire in your comments. And it's not because I'm prioritizing YouTube. It's just that Facebook doesn't allow me to change it as much as YouTube does. It's a comment down there that these always make me laugh. Emmanuel there saying Sam doesn't read the comments at all. It's terrible, isn't it? It's absolutely terrible. Can't believe I just never read the comments. I just never read any of these comments. Saying, Kieran, you want a little bit of Barry? Mate, come on, Barry. We'll keep Barry in. But look, if you've got any questions here for the last couple of minutes of the show, fire them in. It can be whatever you want it to be, football related or not. Got to decide on what video to do for lunchtime today. I'm going to have a video coming out either this week or next week. I've got a video planned on Jim Ratcliffe and his ownership of Nice. I've got a video planned on an updated part 2 on the Glazers strategy and how that's changed at Manchester United. And what else have we got? Got a profile on Luis Campos that's already been researched, but going to choose the right time to release that video. And there's other videos too. Nathan watching from Gloucester. How you doing, buddy? We've got Tim watching from Peterborough. Yeah, big up to both of you. As far as we know, Martial is still injured, but I think he should be. Let's hope he's going to be back fit. Samir saying, do you read Instagram DMs? I do. I think I remember your name, but honestly, I cannot describe to you all how many messages I get on Instagram and Twitter. If I don't reply, it's not me being rude. I swear to God, because if I just reply to everything, I wouldn't do anything else all day. How many players do you think we need in January, Sam? I think we should just go purely focusing on a striker. I think if we try to complicate it too much by identifying 1 or 2 or 3, I don't think we'll get what I think we just purely need a striker. And I don't think it's going to be the ultimate striker that's going to transform our team, but we should be getting someone in the region, as I say, 15 to 25 million, somebody who can come in and do a job, but somebody we expect to progress over the next few years into what we need rather than what we need right now. I think we need to go and sign that in the summer as well. Bring someone in for 15 to 25 million. Ronaldo going to be leaving in the summer. And then when Ronaldo leaves in the summer, then you spend big on that striker. And then you use the striker you signed in January and the new striker you signed in the summer. And boom, you sorted your situation out. Can we talk about how Sancho never made the England squad, but Bowen and Grealish have? Look, man, I don't care about that. I'm sure Sancho does, but I'd rather my players didn't play in the international break. No injuries. Get a genuine break ahead of 9 games in October. Yeah, I think we're going to be happy that Rashford and Sancho got rested. And can we argue that Ten Hag has been our best signing of the last 10 years? I've not felt so positive since we signed Van Persie. I'm glad that the positivity is starting to go through and sort of trickle down everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you've all had it as well, but the thing that's made me even more positive has been those first 2 games, weirdly enough. Because if things have gone perfectly smooth from day one with Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United, we wouldn't know. We'd all be sitting there in fear of saying, fuck, what happens when it goes wrong? What happens when it goes wrong? Is that it went wrong immediately. And the response was emphatic. And the response was collective. So at the first hurdle, Erik Ten Hag showed as a manager, now these players, I'm not going to let that drag these players down. We're going to use that as energy to go forwards. And then we beat Liverpool and Arsenal as a response to that. And for me, that's given me more positivity about Ten Hag as an actual manager. Warren saying, look, you're covering the World Cup. I will cover the World Cup. But you'll obviously presume, and understandably, that there's not as much interest in football when the World Cup is on because everyone's watching the World Cup. I'll cover it to an extent. Maybe I'll just cover the England game. Maybe I'll cover the World Cup. I'm not going to do watch-alongs because I'm not going to do watch-alongs. You know my opinion on watch-alongs. Let's go down here saying, any updates on Gary? Gary Neville, he's not responded, man. And I still haven't found his email out. So anybody who can find his email, make sure you fire that over. Bobby is saying, Sam, do you think Jim Ratcliffe's working on me buying United behind the scenes? I'll be very, very surprised if he isn't. At least investigating the concept of it. We won't find out. We won't be privy about it until he goes public with an actual bid. But given that he publicly said he wanted to buy Manchester United, why would you do that and then not at least research the concept of it next? It's weird. Kieran, I hope you're right, man. Imagine that. Imagine that. Martinez, man, if you can come... If Martinez... I mean, I don't think he will because Haaland... It doesn't matter. It's going to be a fascinating duel. Really, really will be. Haaland looks just unstoppable. It looks like literally trying to stop a Terminator. But if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Martinez. And of course, remember Martinez did it back when it was Ajax against Dortmund. But this feels like a different version of that Haaland. Also feels like a different version of that Martinez. But it's going to be an interesting one. It really, really will be an interesting one. How'd you get on Friday with the poker, guys, ladies and gents? There's the third integration for that is going to go out today, and the actual tournament, the poker tournament, is on Thursdays. Over 400 of us are going to play in that, and genuinely, I'm really excited about it. It's the first actual United People's TV community event. There'll be $150 going to the winner, and I'll tell you what, I'll throw in one of these shirts as well. Yeah, I'll throw in one of these to the winner of the tournament. So $150 and one of those too. So make sure you check out the video later today, which has all the information on how you sign up to it. It's going to be cracking. How much will you laugh if Martinez... I've already said this, Anthony. I think people going, oh, City's the real test. It's like, no, City are not the real fucking test. Like, City is so far ahead. It's just not the test. It's like trying to do a drag race between like an F1 car and like a touring car. It's not the test. It's the measure of where we want to get towards, but the test is not that. The test is Liverpool. Clearly, the test is Arsenal. The test is Chelsea. The test is Spurs. The test is everybody directly around us. And we've passed those tests so far. But if we can somehow pull City down a bit whilst putting ourselves up, that will be good, man. That will be good. Look, I'm going to cover lots and lots about the City game in the build-up to it. But look, I'm going to wrap this up for today. Welcome back. Couple of days off. I always find it really tough to do these videos. Like after a weekend, a big weekend off, or like 3 days off, because my head's not in it. But as soon as I do one of these videos, my head gets straight back into it. And now I'm ready to get this video done for lunchtime. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Gungshi and Warren, absolute G's of the channel. And I handed out 5 gifted memberships. So here, it might be in a few days off, but we've had 25 gifted memberships here today. Absolute legends, all of you. Make sure you drop a like on the video, and I'll see you soon. Actually, I'll see you in about an hour and a half for the lunchtime video, but tomorrow morning too.